Hello all you sniper-loving cosmonauts, as always I am Cosmic, and today we're going to be taking a preview look at Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, the new tactical first-person shooter from CI Games. The game is currently in beta, so everything you see here is subject to change, and Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 places you in the role of an American sniper, John North, who is sent into war-torn Georgia, the country not the state, and the country is in a state of civil war between three main factions. And so John is sent in to not only deal with the civil war threats, but also to stop a new threat from emerging out of the shadows. Now, Ghost Warrior 3 is the first entry in the series to not only have a AAA budget behind it, but it's also the first to feature an open world, whereas the previous installments were all linear adventures. So let's get right into the gameplay, and I have to say that Ghost Warrior 3 is a stark contrast between what has come before. I always thought that while the Sniper Ghost Warrior series, they were okay games, the first and second, they had a lot of problems, and Ghost Warrior 3 is a huge step up in not only quality but in scope thus far. So first, let's talk about the core gameplay. Now, the game is centered around three gameplay pillars, which is target, execute, and survive. Now, what this means in translation into actual mechanics means is that you have essentially three gameplay styles to choose from when you want to complete any given objective. You can utilize stealth and go for the melee combat execution style, whereby you just creep up to an enemy, press a button, and they will be executed melee style. Or you can go a traditional FPS route and take a Kalashnikov and go to hammer on everyone who gets in your way. Or you can do the preferred method, which is of course using the weapons and gadgets like you're supposed to. So you can send up a drone, scout the area, and then slip back on a nice little ledge or a windowsill with your sniper rifle and pick off your targets at long range with a silencer, which feels, oh my gosh, so satisfying. For me, the optimal experience in this game is using a mixture of both melee executions, stealth, and sniping and gadgets. The gunplay for the traditional FPS run and gun style, I don't think is quite up to par with its competitors. I think that if you're a big fan of Call of Duty and their single-player campaigns, and you're a big fan of Titanfall and their single-player campaigns, or you're a big fan of Battlefield, I think if you come into Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 looking for the same level of quality in the gunplay, in the traditional assault rifle, let's run and shoot everything in our path, I don't think you're going to find the same experience here. I think the most enjoyable way to play Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 is through a combination of the three, but ultimately more focusing on the stealth and the sniping aspects, because the sniping is absolutely phenomenal in this game. It's authentic and it feels so good. So when you are any particular given situation sniping, you have to vary your range, you have to consistently toggle your various sniping devices on your scope, so you have to read the range of the target, you have to adjust for wind distance, you have to adjust for a variety of things including weather and the strength of the wind, and pulling off ridiculously long range shots accurately first time feels just wonderful. I have to say that the sniping in this game is really on point, more so probably than a traditional FPS shooter. What makes Ghost Warrior 3 set apart from its predecessors is in the fact that it takes the sniping to a complete new level, simply because of it has an open world now. You have a variety of ways to head for an objective. You have a variety of places to, sit and take out your enemies. You have to adapt to the environments. Weather conditions change, wind speed change. You have to measure distance and gravity. You have to measure your breathing. You have to do a variety of things to really plan out your execution of a given objective. And the great thing about the objectives themselves is the fact that they're just not handed to you on a plate. You're given intel and you're given a specific area area. For example, if it's an execution, you're eliminating a single target like a general. You're given a general area as to where he is, but it's up to you to locate that target, not get caught and die. And so you're given gadgets, like I said, like the drone, where you can fly that around and mark all your targets and mark all the guards. However, if that drone gets seen, then the enemies are going to know that you're there and they will shoot it down. And it's one of those things where it really takes the entire experience of being a sniper to the next level. Instead of being a very linear game where you're just wandering around and shooting target after target to get to the end of the level, this is about being in a world as a sniper. So once you've eliminated your objective, you've got to escape the area and head back to your hideout. Now, speaking of the hideout, this is a place that you're going to be visiting a lot. It has a variety of facilities in there, including the ability to sleep so you can regenerate health and recover from your wounds. You have a crafting table where you can craft your ammo and your various gadgets. There's a shop where you can also buy various ammo and gadgets, and I also like the fact that you have a multitude of different ammunition for the sniper rifle and for any given weapon, so that you have armor-piercing bullets if you need them, and you can literally shoot through, metal fences if you have to. That's the only way to get to your target, or if there's a metal container in the way of you and your target, switch to armor piercing and it'll blow right through it. And it just really overall culminates into this idea that you are a sniper, you are alone, and you have to do everything that you can to complete your objective and survive. When you're out in the battlefield itself, not only do you have to use your gadget to survey the environment, but you can also use the scout mode, which is basically a heightened sense of your surroundings. And when you press the scout mode button, you'll be able to detect things like sounds, or you'll be able to detect mines or traps, that kinds of thing. There's also a good, decent character progression system in the game, whereby you gain skill points as you level up, and you can use these skill points to improve something about one of the core pillars of gameplay. So there are 3 trees, and in each tree it will focus on sniping, it will focus on run and gunning, or it will focus on stealth. And I have to say that thus far, I think that the game creates a legit sniping experience. However, that's not to say that it currently does not have its problems. First, there's a couple of bugs in the game, including the AI. So I have to say that the AI just randomly gives up for looking for you after a very short period of time. For example, I was on a particular ledge and I probably sniped maybe 4 or 5 people. You're talking dead, gone. And then after maybe less than a minute of hiding, they just completely ignored the fact that I've just killed 5 of their enemies and decided to give up looking for me, even though it was likely that I was still in the area. Second, there are a couple of visual problems with the game. I have to say that the game is a massive visual improvement overall, but you also have to remember that this is the first time that they're creating an open world, which gives you its own unique set of problems. So you do have things that some of the textures aren't quite up to par. There's a couple of glitching here and there. I think that some of the parkouring in the game, as you're jumping on ledges and things like that, that can be a little disorientating with the first person camera, and the fact that you have these 2 giant arms in your face and you can't really move around and see what's going on. That is a little bit of a problem. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't think that the run and gun gunplay is particularly good. I don't think that the AK-47 and the assault rifles are a legit way to really go forward in any given objective, especially because you can only take a few hits and then you're going to go down. And I feel that ultimately the majority of the game's mechanics are centered around the sniping and stealth aspects. And so if you're going to try and take it on like a traditional first-person shooter, you are definitely not going to have as much fun as if you were taking on as a sniping simulator. One of my major concerns is the fact that yes, you have this giant open world, yes, you have this main story that's going to lead you all over the world and complete objectives and introduce you to really interesting locations where you're going to be able to plan out your route and, experience the sniper life, as it were. But what I'm concerned about is having this open world what else is there to do in it? And I'm concerned that the developers are not going to put enough content, actual meaningful side content in there, because you have this crafting system that, yes, you can go and look for resources, but at the end of the day, it's not that fun. You also will have side objectives and side missions that are known as war crimes. And again, while these are fun to do sometimes, it's not something that I feel will be meaningful compared to that of the main story. And you have locations and various things, collectibles to collect, but ultimately, I feel that it doesn't give you enough of a reason to explore this open world, especially given the fact that the driving is pretty damn dull. The last thing that I was really disappointed with was the overall performance on my PC, and I think that while the game for the most part run fairly decently when I was on foot, especially when I was driving or there was any kind of large action taking place, I would experience several frame rate drops, dropping from 60 into the 30s and 40s, which I hope that they certainly have a lot of optimization between now and full launch in April. That being said, however, I have to say that I was bloody impressed with Ghost Warrior 3. It is a massive breakaway from anything that's come before in the series, and I think that is for the better. I think it is more open, it is more dynamic, it is more interesting, it provides a better and more authentic sniper experience, and ultimately, and the most important part, is that it's fun. It's fun to play this game. Yes, it has its problems. Yes, it has its drawbacks, but it doesn't take away from the fantastic experience of sitting down in the bushes, finding your target, and pulling off a 400-yard shot. It is fantastic in that regard, and I think as a core sniping game, it works phenomenally well, and I hope that they fix the minor issues that they have going on, certainly in terms of the performance and optimization. I hope that they have plenty of content to do in this open world, and I think that if they improve the performance enough, and if they tweak up some of the minor gunplay issues, what you'll end up having is probably the best Ghost Warrior to date, by far, and ultimately a platform from which the series can continue to thrive on in the future. And that is my preview of Sniper Ghost Warrior 3. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Let me know what your thoughts are on the video in the comments section below. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button, make sure to subscribe and share on social media. And as always, I will see you next time.